Good afternoon, SEMA. Got the Ford team here today to share with you our collision repair workshop. So we're excited to be here. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to introduce myself, Dean Bruce. I'm the collision marketing manager, and my partner in crime is
Jerry Benani, senior engineer for paint body damageability repair.
So we've got an action-packed agenda here for the next 45 minutes. See if we can get there we go. So we're going to be spending some time today really digging into our collision repair resources. And we're going to start out at a high level, and we're going to be talking about just our general collision strategy. But we'll be digging into the repair procedure manual, kind of talk through exactly what we have and where it's located. We have an industry resource also called FordCrashParts.com. I want to introduce you to that. And then we're going to get into some specifics around collision repair, and that's why Jerry Benani, our chief engineer for paint and body, is here. So we're going to dig deep into the F-150, the F-250 Super Duty. We'll be talking about the Mustang Mach-E, the all-exciting new electric vehicle, along with the brand new Bronco, which seems to be the year of the Bronco here at SEMA. So buckle up, and here we go. So let's start out at a high level with our strategy. And really, it all starts with our founder, Henry Ford. And I think what's exciting about being part of the Ford Motor Company is it's really a family company. And it all started with Henry. And today we have Bill Ford Jr. as the chairman of the board. So Bill is the great-grandson. And what's interesting with this family business is that it all started with Henry. And if you follow Henry at all, he's got some really memorable quotes. And one of my favorites, and it really applies to what we do in the collision space, is quality means doing it right when no one is looking. And I think that means a lot to us here at Ford, because we want to make sure that we bring our customers' vehicles back to like new condition after an accident. And that really has a lot to do with the quality of the repair. Quality meaning OE repair procedures, OE parts, and a certified technician. So that's really where it starts, and that's the purpose of today's workshop, is to dig into that. So let's talk about our main resource, which is our Ford Workshop Manual. So for those of you in the collision repair industry that's not affiliated with a Ford dealership, our site is motorcraftservice.com. And what's unique about motorcraftservice.com is it not only provides you with the paint and body repair procedures, but it also includes the mechanical. So it's a full suite for our Ford and Lincoln products. And you can see there, we not only have the workshop information, we have recall information, module reprogramming. So if you're doing pre and post scanning and calibration, we have the programming, we have the software, the diagnostic tool support. We have technical courses available on the site, along with some free resources. So I would encourage you to bookmark this, save this site, really critical. And so why Motorcraft Service versus some of the other consolidators, such as ALLDATA or CCC or Mitchell? Because our workshop is the most up-to-date. That's the obvious piece. But we also build in deep linking. So if you're working on a vehicle and there's an associated area of repair, you can deep link into that same area of the workshop and access that additional repair procedures. We also have video instructions. We're adding more and more video. Many of our technicians are visual learners, so as we move from a more read workshop to a more graphic workshop, we're going to be adding more videos, and I think you'll see that over time. So let's talk about our technical resources. I talked about our Ford Crash Parts site, so I want to walk through this with you. It is an industry resource. It is a no-pay resource, free, complimentary to the industry. And really it houses a lot of our Ford and Lincoln technical support. Such things as position statements. We do a quarterly on-target newsletter, which is very specific to the collision industry, around new model repairs, around advanced driver assistance systems, pre-post scanning, and other interesting things going on around our Ford and Lincoln products. We have a steel matrix repairability piece that Jerry's going to dig into later today in his presentation, which I think you'll find a really unique resource. We talked about videos. We're putting more and more repairability videos out there for specific repairs, more difficult repairs. And then we also have information on our approved resources, such as paint systems, adhesives, sealers, and more. So let's talk about each one of these real quickly. The technical resources, think about the F-150, a lot of new materials in that vehicle, the biggest of all being the aluminum piece of the vehicle. That's 100% aluminum body. It requires different repair procedures. So in our technical resources, we really outline some of those key resources to help you repair our F-Series. We talked about the steel matrix repairability matrix. We're going to be talking about that. Parts testing information, YOE versus aftermarket. Pretty straightforward from the OE side of it, but we have some work to do to make sure that the insurance companies and the insurance industry understands that. And then some of the newer model vehicles we have out on repairability videos, such as the all-new F-Series, so that's the 2021, Expedition Navigator, along with Ranger, Bronco to follow. The all-new Bronco is out there, so we'll be following that up with a brand new video on repairability. Let's talk about position statements. So this is really a critical piece of collision repair for Ford Motor Company. So what we've done is we've identified certain areas that are very important to Ford to make sure that the vehicles are repaired per workshop manual. So if you dig into this, you'll see that we've added a couple of new position statements. I know these are critical to the collision repairers because this helps you understand what's required and allows you to work with the insurance companies to make sure you get paid for those. Our most recent one is bumper fascia. So you think about the vehicles today, they've got cameras, they've got sensors in the bumper fascia. We just can't go ahead and repair one without understanding what those requirements are for the bumper fascia. So this is our newest one out there. I would encourage you to go out to the site, take a look at that. We've recently also added on pre and post scanning and diagnostics, so very specific requirements. And it's not we recommend, we require you to do this. So really straightforward and something that you can work with your insurance companies to make sure you're getting paid for the work you're doing. You can see some of the other position statements there. I'm not going to go through each one, but an opportunity for you to dig into that site and learn more about that. We also do a quarterly on-target newsletter. So as I talked about, this is specific to the collision industry and specifically about some of our new models and things to know about those new models, sectioning, repair procedures, things like that. We have a couple of copies at our booth today, so if you're here in the hall, you can stop by the Ford Collision booth right at the entrance of the South Hall, upper level, and we've got a couple of copies for those. These are all housed electronically on the site. So anyway, something that I know that your teams will really like and use on any Ford and Lincoln repair. We talked about approved paint systems. That's critical. Hopefully you're using one of these paint systems. These are all approved by Ford. But these resources dig deep into these paint systems and what they have available for you. So we have a very good relationship with all the paint companies, and we provide those resources on this site. And then last but not least, the Ford approved adhesives and sealers. Again, it's critical that when we're putting a Ford or Lincoln vehicle back into like new condition, that we're using the sealers and adhesives that come from the factory, not only on the paint side, but also on the repair side with the adhesives and sealers. So that's a quick tour of our FordCrashParts.com site. If you've not been out to the site, please bookmark that and use that in the future. And now, at this point, we'd like to dig deeper into the repairability. So I'm going to hand that over to Jerry and let Jerry take it from here.
Thank you, Dean. Great job. So if we go into body construction, basically all this information is in the workshop manual, along with the steel repairability matrix. As we look at these diagrams of the vehicle structure, we talk about where the different materials are within the structure, and the steel matrix helps you repair the vehicle correctly. Next, please. So here's the steel repairability matrix. You can see the different steels are enumerated on the side. As you go down the line, here's the basic industry standard steels. Here's the welding methods, use of cold repairs or hot repairs if you want to use heat during a repair. Now you mate this with the exploded diagram of the vehicle, which tells you where the various steels are within the vehicle structure. Next, please. Let's talk sectioning for a minute. Can you guys hear me okay? Do I sound a little scratchy? I'm sorry. But let's talk repair sectioning for a minute. instead of replacing an entire frame rail, we allow you in many vehicles to replace portions of the frame rail, aka sectioning of the frame rail. In doing so, those documented procedures will be in the factory workshop manual for the particular vehicle you're working on. You can see in the top example where you have the dimensions and the cut lines. And then going on to exterior skin, we allow you to section. So remember this, structural, you have to follow the Ford guidelines on the exact cut locations. If it's exterior skin, you may section exterior skin how you see fit and what is best for your repair plan and needs. The main thing is to remain 50 millimeters away from hinge areas and strikers when you do that. We look at ways that we can maximize cost-effective repairs that don't get super invasive into repairing the vehicle. Repairing it simply, and we have some videos, as Dean mentioned, for the door skin, for the F-150 pickup box side, and many other repairs on our Ford Crash Parts site. Going into aluminum really, the best way to describe it is that it's not harder, it's different. Working with aluminum from a structural standpoint, there's actually many more repairable features about the 2015 on F-150, along with Expedition, Navigator, and Super Duty families than we had in the previous steel examples of those vehicles. Welding technology is slightly different wires, different shielding gas, but we look at good shop practices, good hygiene, maintaining quarantining between steel and aluminum to minimize any chance of cross-contamination. Next, please. Let's talk fixed glass for a minute. So if you do a roof skin on, let's say, an F-150, and you've got bare steel, or bare aluminum, and you're going to put a new windshield in, how many of you would paint that with base coat, clear coat, and then put the windshield to it? You know you can't do that, right? You want to apply epoxy primer to that windshield flange, back tape that after it dries, and then apply the base coat, clear coat color around the perimeter of the windshield. Why do we do this? The original equipment high bake paint is extremely tough stuff. Conversely, the epoxy is extremely tough material as well. You want to bond that windshield to something that is structurally sound. When you put an aftermarket refinished base coat and clear coat system on that flange, you're looking at a weak link in the chain holding the windshield into the vehicle. Does everyone remember John Eagle, the lawsuit with John Eagle, the Honda? You look at the windshield on that Honda, it was not retained properly. The person did it to the aftermarket gray paint that was on the vehicle. So next, please. Heads-up windshield must be a Ford glass because the system will not work correctly without one. If you look at these following conditions, if the vehicle has an AHUD display, if it has any type of a camera bracket, or adhesive moldings, or rim encapsulated windshields, they must be replaced with a new Ford glass. Don't go aftermarket here. You can create some system issues that are very, very hard to repair. Next. We have a glass position statement that came out in June of 2020, which goes into some of these things and helps you as you're talking about this with your insurance company as well as your customer as well. Restraints. So we've got various different restraints on the Ford vehicles, as you know. I won't read each one of them here. The main point is to follow all workshop manual guidelines and make sure they have a trained technician that understands these systems before they get too far into diagnostics of them. So next. So you want to talk F-150? Sound good? Nice truck for 2021. A lot of new features. Go ahead, Dean. So, oh, no problem. So I won't list the features, but you can see there's some really dynamic features. Sorry. One more. Went too far. Okay, so as you look at this, there's a lot of electronic features on the 2021 that are brand new, including auto hold, the headlights. You look at auto on and off headlights. There's a active front air dam. Includes the new V6 full hybrid 3.5 power boost engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission. A 12-inch digital instrument cluster productivity screen in the center of the dash, as you see, along with a center console with stowable shifter, and the Pro Power onboard. Remember everybody was having power troubles down in Texas? There was actually customers using their F-150 to power their house. So pretty neat stuff. So go on to the next one, please. Here's some of the Copilot 360 technologies. I won't read these in detail, but you can see there's a lot of really cool features which help you make the vehicle safer and more dynamic to drive. Next. Frames. Has anyone repaired an F-150 or Super Duty frame from Ford? Anyone worked with one or had a truck in their shop that was damaged? We believe that we offer best in class for the repair of our frames. From the upper left here, you see the long front frame section kit, which goes from the front bumper brackets on back to the center joint to the center section. On the upper right here, you can see the short stub kits, roughly about 18 inches from the front bumper bracket rearward. That's at a factory joint, very, very popular spot. If you have a truck that got hit in the front, perhaps a side sway at an intersection and a bigger vehicle hit it, this is a great kit to repair it with. But conversely, we also have a rear section kit on the lower left here, and this mates to the rear section over axle area, along with brackets like the lower control arm bracket. What's so cool about a lower control arm bracket? Many times you get into an accident and the lower control arm on an F-150 or similar truck, the control arm is pushed back because the vehicle may have hit a rock or some other projectile. This bracket allows you to replace just that bracket, and if the rest of the frame is not really damaged, you can repair it. That saves you the potential of looking at a total, allowing you to repair that vehicle. Next. Here's a list of the frame kits that we have. They include the parts I just showed you, along with many other serviceable brackets on the frame, which include things like the center drive shaft support. You've got leaf spring mounting brackets, shock brackets. It's all sorts of stuff that's available to work in these trucks. So the F-150, one of the key features on F-150 is this apron tube design. As you look at this apron tube, it's a single tube of hydroformed aluminum which goes on top of the hinge pillar assembly. As you might see in the video coming up here, the tube used to go in and underneath the hinge. So you'd have to drop the instrument panel to get to the spot welds. Well, that's 7 to 8 hours of time by the time you drop the IP, cut the spot welds, get in there. What this is nice is that you can do everything externally. All the fasteners, the rivets are all external. So replacing that is a fraction of the time that it took to do on the steel truck. You see a pattern here, right? We had one of the best trucks in the steel truck. We made it even better in aluminum, much more serviceable that you guys can repair it. Next, please. So let's talk Super Duty for a minute. And going on to Super Duty, we have similar frame repair options, which include the brackets, the frame sections that I enumerated earlier, but adding further too, like the radius arm and shock tower kits, as well as spring hanger brackets. We have a tremendous amount of brackets to help you work on this truck and repair portions of the frame without totaling and putting an entire frame on the vehicle. Part numbers are on the next slide, or excuse me, going on to this next slide, we're talking about the apron tubes on the Super Duty, which on this vehicle are a twin tube design. Get this though, they're high strength, low alloy steel. They're not aluminum as the rest of the vehicle. They're actually steel. Now, why do we do that? Because of the large diesel cooling packages, intercooler, everything, we chose to do those on the HSLA 350 steel, and they are black powder coated originally. When they come into the assembly plant, you might see a picture of a Super Duty going down the line. Those tubes are painted black. Those coatings isolate the steel from the aluminum, and they're attached and retained to the vehicle with the flow drill screws, as well as self-piercing rivets at these locations. To replace those, all you have to do is separate those rivets, separate the glue, part comes off, you're fitting your new one, you drill new holes, put rivets through it with new adhesive. Again, 7 to 8 hours of repair savings time. Common between the F-150 and the Super Duty, we've never had sectioning available for the cab cross members, as you see here. See the red lines? We allow you to section these cross members. If you got a side hit and you have damage to the side of the truck, these may be damaged. We allow you to section them. We also allow you to section the floor pan, as well as the inner rocker panel on the vehicle as well. That applies to Super Duty and F-150 as well. Now moving on to the next slide, the B pillar, this is not going in and underneath the roof skin. So you can cut a window in the outer skin and replace just this purple B-pillar with ease. There's also a sectioning option where you could section this A-pillar tube directly over the B-pillar. See the green part? That's a complex extrusion. Now, there's somebody in the industry who says he's a know-it-all, says he knows everything, and he doesn't. He's been telling people in shops wrong information. And you want to get my goat up, that gets my goat up. When you see this, that's a complex extrusion. Why this person is telling people you can section that is completely wrong. So remember, that reinforcement that you see there in green is actually a very complex extrusion. Anybody know what extrusions are? You guys know what extrusions are? How about your storm door? You look at your storm door this morning when you walked out, that's an extrusion. Inside of that, there's veins that reinforce that extrusion. How you can section that in this person's mind, I don't know. Better off going to the factory shop manuals and following our advice on this one. Again, you don't want to work on something and repair it incorrectly. Rivets. So, show of hands, would anybody do a weak spot weld or a bad plug weld if you're working on a steel vehicle intentionally? Would you ever do that? Everyone's shaking their heads. Would you do it? Any of you? Naturally, we want to make a safe repair for our customer, right? So if you look at the shop manual, see these patterns for the rivets? Number 1, number 2, number 3. Each joint on this truck has a specific rivet that's dictated that has to go in a certain area. If you put the wrong rivet in the wrong location, it's essentially like making a cold spot weld or a bad MIG plug weld. I hear stories about people, they take the rivets and they don't follow this pattern. If you take anything away from our visit today, make sure that you follow the rivet patterns. You have to put the correct rivet in the correct location, driven by the right mandrel to drive that rivet. Well, why is that? Rivets are rivets are rivet. No, it's not. The self-piercing rivets go in, and in order to drive them correctly, you have to have the right mandrel. Otherwise, you could overset it too deep and crack the metal, or it's too shallow and it's a weak joint. Think about the science that goes into these. And you would never want to put an aftermarket rivet. There are some companies that offer an aftermarket rivet. Do not allow them on that vehicle. You would never build an unsafe vehicle for a family friend or a loved one. Don't do that to your customer. Follow the Ford rivets only. Use the correct mandrel rivets to drive the rivets, and make sure that you put the glue in the joint where you need to do it. Other than that, it's extremely easy to work with this truck. I have technicians come up to me unsolicited saying, I would rather work on this truck any day over most vehicles. And that was a compliment, I thought. But as you look at this, we have a lot of other information on FordCrashParts.com. And again, the rivets are a very key and critical structural item. Next. So I'm going to take a break for just a minute. We're going to play a video for you. And this shows the F-150 derivative called the Expedition Navigator. Now, as you look at Navigator and Expedition, from the B-pillar forward, that truck is essentially an F-150. It's the rear section with the wagon body that makes it unique, and a unique rear frame section, which you'll see in the video real quick. So I think you'll like this.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Ford Paint and Body Technology Center. I'm Jerry Benanti, Senior Engineer for Paint and Body Damageability Repair at the Ford Motor Company. Today I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the 2018 Expedition Navigator Series. This new 2018 Expedition Navigator Series was designed with repairability in mind. Like the F-150 that launched 3 years ago, the 2018 Expedition Navigator has an aluminum-intensive body structure made up of high-strength aluminum alloys, chosen because of their unique abilities to withstand tough customer demands. As I'm sure you know, that was a radical change for F-150, but the truck has been a huge success, and for many good reasons, not least of which is because it was designed from the very beginning with repairs in mind. And so is this all-new Expedition Navigator. Throughout its development, specific design actions have been incorporated to improve its overall repairability, while at the same time maximizing lessons we have learned from previous aluminum-intensive vehicles. The frame also is a similar design to F-150s, fully boxed and made with a large percentage of high-strength steel for increased stiffness and durability, along with lighter weight. That makes perfect sense because it means reduced cost to customers and increased customer satisfaction, which is good for all of us and helps us in our quest to grow Ford's SUV market leadership. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this effort. On the all-new 2018 Expedition Navigator, the floor pan may be sectioned according to your repair plan and the repair needs. The damage on the vehicle will dictate where is best to repair this section of the floor. The green lines that you see here cover a replacement section of the floor in the event that we repaired the cross member. Rivets, gluing information, and other special information is included in the factory workshop manual. The advantage of sectioning the floor pan as repair plan needs dictate allow you a lot of flexibility in the repair of the vehicle, making it far less invasive and less expensive of a repair. On the 2018 Expedition Navigator and the current F-150, a huge design feature which has been very, very well received in the field is the apron tube, the upper apron tube assembly. As you look at this, all of the fasteners are external on this area. In the past, this yellow part used to go in and underneath the hinge pillar, necessitating the removal or lowering down of the instrument panel to gain access to welds in this area. All of that is gone now, saving 7 to 8 hours of repair time. All the fasteners are external. Adhesive is underneath. You have a simple plate up front with rivets through it with adhesive in the front section. Again, with the savings of 7 to 8 hours, not having to remove the instrument panel makes a far easier, less invasive repair to the technician. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Ford Paint and Body Technology Center. My name is Jerry Banani. I'm a senior engineer for paint and body damageability repair at the Ford Motor Company. Today I'd like to talk to you about the 2019 Ford Ranger. When we're looking at the overall repairability of the vehicle, one of the major things that we did was make the frame extremely easy to service. Bracketry, sections, short stub sections to the long front section. Rear sections, there's 2 different options for repairing it. One of the biggest things that totaled out many Rangers in the past was the number 1A cross member. We are offering this for the first time on this vehicle line as a service part with the instructions on how to install it as well. The idea behind the modular frame sections is to make the vehicle less expensive to repair and easier to repair. Ford dealership body shops can go to the PTS system to access the factory workshop manuals for the vehicle. If you're an outside body shop, go to motorcraftservice.com. That's a paid site, and you can gain access to the factory workshop manuals, which are the best source of information to repair this vehicle. Let's take a look at some of the repairability features at the front of the vehicle. The front bumper bracket is available. This is available separately, which is great because if you just have minor damage to the front of the frame, you can replace just this bracket. The bracket also comes with the short front stub section, which goes from the front of the frame back to the rear at this factory joint. It also includes this bracket for the sorb system as well as the forward cab mount here. The number 1A cross member is available. This is a win because this is the first time this was available for the Ranger series of vehicles. We totaled a lot of Rangers out when damage occurred to these areas. On the past model Ranger, you cannot replace or repair these usually. This is also the lower front control arm bracket mounting. Many times this can get damaged. You can replace this entire cross member, saving the frame. The same goes for the number 2 cross member of the frame. This is the rear lower control arm bracket mount, but it also is available for service separately and allows you to repair the vehicle without replacing the frame. Now moving rearward in the frame, we've got the X member or K member. It's available separately for service and is installed at all these factory joints in the same way. Lots of options for repairing this frame, helping the vehicle be repaired properly into factory specifications. Now looking at the front service frame section, from the front bumper bracket back to the factory joint back here, you may replace this entire front half of the frame without affecting the center section and rear section of the vehicle. This section allows you to repair a frame on a vehicle that otherwise would have been totaled. Note the cross members that go here and here in the rear sections of the frame. The cross members are pierced through the sides of the frame rails and welded on their perimeter both on the inside and on the outside of the frame rail section. These two cross members are done this way, giving the frame exceptional strength and rigidity. As we look at the service sections for the rear, note that you have a factory joint right here, which allows you to section the frame all the way to the back of the vehicle right here. We offer another service frame section kit, which goes from this joint onward to the rear of the vehicle back here. We also have the leaf spring bracket available for service, and this is easy to repair with its perimeter weld, as you can see. The reasons behind these repairability features are to make a less costly and invasive repair while maximizing safety and value to our customer. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of this effort. We greatly appreciate your participation.
Any questions on that stuff? Is this helpful to you guys? As you look at Ford vehicles, you can see how we look at them to try to determine how to make them easier for you to repair. Give you more options to section things and parts of the frame, things like that. A little bit about the new Mach-E. I'll just give you a quick overview of this exciting car. There's the various models you see listed here, from the Premium, First Edition, Select, California, and the GT. Each has a different flavor, a different performance level. Very exciting car. It's got a glass roof, fixed glass roof, standard. It's interesting. The door handles do not stick out. You have an E-latch system with a push button, and then the strap handle pops out to open the door. Go on next. Copilot 360 with highway assist. It's got Bliss with cross traffic alert, traffic sign recognition, as well as many other items like the intelligent adaptive cruise control, reverse braking assist, and many other items. There's also a driver's awareness program which works with you as it determines if you're nodding or getting tired. The vehicle will adapt accordingly. Kind of sounds scary a little bit, but my 70 Mercury Cyclone doesn't do that, so I have to go on. But vehicle using your phone as a key. There's no key cylinders anywhere on the exterior panels. The latch system I mentioned earlier, and then there's a jumper harness available to go in and unlock the vehicle should the 12-volt battery be dead, if you get one that's damaged perhaps. Notches are cut out in the air body shield to allow you to lift the vehicle with conventional two-post lifting technologies. But when you get into the removal of the battery on the next slide, there's some essential service tools that have to be gotten from Rotunda, which allow you to raise the vehicle up high enough to get the vehicle battery tray jack and table underneath the battery. So you'll need those adapters from Rotunda in order to do that. There's a lot of training coming through with iCar and Ford. I won't list the courses, but you can see that there's a lot of hybrid electric as well as vehicle-specific new model training courses. I think you'll find some really good stuff here. And moving on to Bronco. So what do you think of this show, Bronco? You see it everywhere. You guys excited, pumped? Is this a cool vehicle or what? I saw Bronco as a clay in the studio, and I'm not kidding you. They had two modified, beautiful Broncos. One was very original, but another one was pretty modified, sitting in the clay studio when they were making the clay model of the new Bronco. So one of the guys who was the chief design engineer worked with me on F-150, and you're going to see some concepts that are similar to the F-150. Although this is a steel vehicle, you'll see some interesting things from a damageability repair standpoint. So here's some of the base models. You've got the base, the Big Bend, going to the Black Diamond Edition, Outer Banks, Badlands, Wild Track, and then the First Edition. Each has specific flavors, specific performance levels, and features, but it's a really neat vehicle to start with. Next. Body-mounted mirrors up on the upper cowl. You've got a swing-mounted rear tire, just like the old ones had. Removable doors. The hardtop is completely adjustable how you want to do it. You can take sections out. You'll see that in just a minute. Rock rails, which protect the rockers. And you've got fender-mounted tie-downs, which there's so many cool things about this truck. It's easy to get excited about. Look at the hardtop, the options you have with your hardtop. You can pull this section of the roof out for just the driver and passenger, or do the rear seat as well. And of course, remove the entire top. Doors removed. There's so many different accessory options, as you saw in the show, by Ford and others as well. This is an exciting vehicle. There's going to be so much cool stuff with this. The front grille and modular front bumper, very easy to put on a winch or a custom front bumper. The swing gate again, and look how cool it looks with the doors off and the top off. One thing that's pretty interesting in this from a damageability standpoint, with the roof rail tubes, essentially the roll cage of the vehicle, there's actually an integrated side air curtain system, which Jeep Wrangler does not have. So that separates Bronco from the Jeep, making it rather unique. Powertrains, 2.3 EcoBoost i4 with the 7-speed, or you've got the 2.7 EcoBoost V6 with the 10-speed. All-terrain features include trail control. Think about this, cruise control for the woods. When you're scaling through the woods, you're scaling through the Baja, whatever, you can do a low-speed cruise control feature, allowing you as you approach obstacles to go slowly, control the vehicle, maintain the speed. There's a lot of good features here for going over anything, as we call it. GOAT system, which is next. So go over anything, go over any terrain is in the next slide. And there's also the electronic feature of, how many, you guys four-wheeled? Anybody four-wheel? So one of the key features, disconnect the sway bar, right? You can do that electronically with this truck. You don't have to leave the truck. So it's a pretty cool thing. Going in, the GOAT system, as you can see here, are different patterns or different setups within the transfer case and the drive system, engaging the differential locking as well as the transfer case modes, as you see in here, for rock crawl, Baja, mud and sand, ruts, you name it. Next. So let's talk the body real quick. It's not aluminum, it's a steel vehicle. But you've got essentially overall a mild steel, or a dual phase and boron steel, as well as high strength alloy steels. Next. The apron tube assembly on the front shotguns and the Bronco looks similar to the F-150, isn't it? You've got that same apron tube concept, and if you go to our booth, you'll see it on the display that we have in there. That apron tube assembly is just as easy to service as the trucks. Very, very simple concept. These are made of HSLA 340 steel. And next. So looking at the structure, you've got the 3-door and the 5-door. Notice that in red, you've got the A-pillar reinforcements and hinge pillar, your rocker reinforcement, and your B-pillar inner and outer are all comprised of the red material. That red material is boron steel. So you're going to replace it at factory joints using spot welding where we're allowed per the welding matrix. The rest of the steels include dual phase steels and mild steel for the outer body skin. And get this, you can unbolt the quarter panels. So if you want to modify your Bronco, you can unbolt the fenders easily, you can unbolt the quarter panels easily, do whatever you want. If you want to put a wider setup for wider tires, very, very simple vehicle to modify. Isn't that cool? And there's so much neat stuff on this vehicle. So going on to the frame, a lot of the key points I brought up in the Ranger frame, now these two frames are very, very similar. So you're looking at the same front bumper bracketry, the short stub kit, you're looking at the long front frame section, but going on to the next slide, you'll see the rear. We include a full rear section as well as the rear cross member and panhard mounting brackets. Trailer hitch is simply bolted on with 4 bolts. In the next slide, you'll see. Very, very simple design, very easy to work with. Very, very good vehicle to work on. So, Dean, I'll let you take this for a little bit. My throat's a little scratchy, I'm sorry, but thank you, guys.
It's been a good, we good here? So one of the important things that we do as part of Ford Motor Company in the collision repair space, and as part of our Ford Certified Collision Network, is a deep relationship with the iCar team. Most of you have probably been out to the iCar site, the Repairability Technical Support, RTS. We share a lot of resources together. So we talked about FordCrashParts.com. We have a lot of resources there for the industry. We also make those available through the iCar site. iCar has a very specific Ford page. Everything that we bring out, Jerry talked in depth about the Bronco, all of those resources we will provide to iCar so that we we have the same resources at both locations. So ICAR Gold is a requirement for the Ford Certified Collision Network. We add on additional Ford courses. Those are available within the ICAR learning management system. You get credit for them. We track them. And on top of just the training, we've got all the technical resources too. ICAR happens to be our technical support for the Ford Certified Collision Network at no extra charge. We provide that to our network. But we've got a lot of great work behind us and a lot of work in front of us. And the work is really focusing on the electric vehicles. As you probably know, ICAR has really been building up their repair expertise in the EV space, and we're leveraging that for the Mustang Mach-E. We've got the E-Transit. The all-new electric Transit is coming out in Q4 here in the next month. And then I think if you've been over to the booth, you've seen the F-150 Lightning. So that'll be the all-electric F-Series. So the volumes are starting to grow, and we're building the base level for all collision repairers to be able to repair those. We're in the early innings, right? Not a lot of volume, but that volume's really going to take off. So the alignment with Ford on our site, the alignment with ICAR on the RTS site, really just critical moving forward. And you'll see even more in the advanced driver assistance system space. I know ICAR is working on an offering there. We'll leverage that offering. We'll build Ford-specific training around that because pre- and post-scanning and calibration is going to be critical, not only on the driver assistance systems, but also on the glass that Jerry talked about. So just a lot of good work. I wanted to make you aware of what's available on their site. You know what we have available, and we update this on a regular basis. So something that you'll want to, as I said, bookmark and use as a resource going forward. So. We had a couple spots during the presentation where we had questions. We wanted to get through the content, so we wanted to make sure that we had time for questions at the end. I will share with you, and we'll leave this up. You can take a quick picture of this after the presentation. This PowerPoint is available on our FordCrashParts.com site. So once you go out there, it's www.FordCrashParts.com/ICAR. And then you use the username ICAR and then Ford Presentation 1. And that will allow you to download the content today and use it as a resource, use it for some shop meetings, and then use the site itself along with the RTS site on your future repairs. So we appreciate your time here. We'll open it up for any questions that you might have. As I said, we covered a lot of content. And I manage the Ford Certified Collision Network. We didn't spend a lot of time there because we have a dedicated site for that. Happy to answer any questions. Jerry and I are at the booth for the rest of today. And Jerry's heading out tomorrow, but I'll be there all day tomorrow. So any questions you have now or if you want to come up after, happy to answer them. So we'll take a pause here. Questions? Must have done a good job, Jerry.
I guess so. I guess. Thank you all for coming. And if you do have anything as you're walking through the show, just stop on by.
Right over here.
Yes, sir. Ford door skin? On aluminum?
So repeat the question.
So the question was, on installing the Ford aluminum on the F-Series and Expedition Navigator, doing the aluminum door skins, the key, Barry, right? The key is to take your time. The problem guys have run into and gals have run into installing this skin is they get in a hurry. And I met with a young guy, oh gosh, the guy's 30, I'm calling him a young guy, but I met with him in Ann Arbor, and he's saying, I'm doing 3 to 5 a week. And I said, what's your key? What's your trick? Because I knew what he was going to say. He said, I take my time with it. So that's the key. We also have a very good video on the Ford Crash Parts site, which covers some of the little tricks on doing it. But I would recommend check that video out and then take your time. Many have been done, and yes, many have rushed it and they've cracked it and they can damage it. But I will tell you that it's a good repair, and once you start getting down to the tricks, it can go pretty fast. That's in the video. Yeah, there's some tools that are recommended in the video, like the Steck door skin zipper is a good one. And we also have a rotunda tool as well for closing the hem on the aluminum door skinning job. So that's a good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions?
All right, again.
Thank you all for coming.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Thank you.